In today's video, I'm going to share exactly how you can stay disciplined and reach your fat loss goals even with a busy schedule. Fat loss is already hard enough as it is, but it can be even harder when life is hectic. Over the last year and a half though, I have reached my personal health and physique goals with a very busy, hectic schedule. So I know firsthand how hard it is to stay motivated and stay on track when you already feel so drained and exhausted. Let's start by talking about the motivation trap. I think one of the biggest misconceptions I used to have about people who were healthy and fit was that they felt motivated all the time, that they were always in the mood to work out and go to the gym and eat healthy. So there's good news too if you stick around, but I'm gonna start with the bad news first. The secret to achieving my health and fitness goals actually had nothing to do with motivation. I realized that when I relied on motivation, I didn't get very far, and instead it actually came down to discipline. Here's the good news. Although motivation comes and goes, discipline is always there, and it's kind of like a muscle that we can build over time. So for the purpose of this video, we'll define discipline as the ability to do something regardless of how we feel about it. So we're able to stay consistent, build that habit, whether or not we're in the mood or feeling motivated. I feel like we all have those days where we wake up and we just feel excited to get out there and get after it and reach our health and fitness goals. So on those days, we don't really need to rely on discipline or good habits, but a lot of times we do need that extra help. At least I certainly do. The really cool thing is that there's actually an area of our brain that controls our discipline, our motivation, and our willpower. I promise this is really important, so stay with me. It is called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. It's responsible for our ability to push past that friction that we feel and do those important things we need to do to achieve our goals. There's a lot of really cool science on this that actually shows how we can kind of strengthen that area of our brain. The amazing thing is we can actually develop discipline doing anything that's challenging but good for us. So whether that's working out, drinking more water, getting better sleep, reading, journaling, meditating, working on a challenging project for school or for work, once we start to develop this area of our brain, that ability to create discipline kind of becomes a part of us. And it helps us to create discipline across all areas of our life. Do you ever notice that people who tend to be disciplined in one area also tend to be disciplined in other areas? So for example, someone who is in really amazing shape and is working out consistently every single week also tends to eat healthy and tends to get good sleep and wake up early in the morning and have a really clean house and have a really great relationship with their family. Things like that. The anterior mid-cingulate cortex is probably a big part of that phenomenon. So now that we're clear on discipline, how it works in our brain, and why we want it, let's get into the process of how to actually build it so you can reach your fat loss goals even if you have a lot going on in your life. Because let's be honest here, when isn't life chaotic? I swear every month I'm like, okay, this month is crazy, but next month when things are chill, I'm gonna do XYZ, and that time never comes. Things never get more chill. The first thing is setting realistic goals. There are so many ways to set goals, but personally, a way that I found really effective is to imagine a future version of myself and kind of work backwards from there. There's this fine balance with goal setting where on the one hand, we want it to be challenging enough for us to feel excited and energized to get out there and get it done. And there's a lot of science to support that actually that feeling of excitement and challenge is important. So it's good to not set goals that are too easy, but also our goals need to be something that is small and manageable enough that we actually feel like we can achieve it. Something that's realistic and we feel like we can make real progress on. There were so many times in my fat loss journey that I set goals that were just way too big and unrealistic. It became unmanageable with my schedule, and then I would just feel so frustrated and upset with myself because I could never achieve the goals that I set, and it would start this vicious cycle where I would set a goal, I would fail at it, I would feel terrible, I would start again and just repeat over and over. So this is where I love to start breaking things down into smaller pieces. So for example, in this video, we're talking about fat loss specifically. There are so many smaller goals and stepping stones that you can take in that journey that will help you ultimately reach that goal of getting into a calorie deficit and losing weight. For example, getting enough sleep. Maybe you want to increase your daily steps or increase your workout intensity or the number of workouts you're doing every week. Maybe you want to eat more fiber or more protein or swap in some more lower calorie, high volume food options, fruits, vegetables, things like that. Breaking these large goals into smaller ones so that you can layer them on over time, I found is so helpful, especially if you only have a couple hours across the week that you can really devote to fat loss. Taking it one small step at a time, I found is just so much more effective. I found one of the most impactful things with a busy schedule is focus. So I'm sure you've heard the saying, you can have it all, but not all at once. It's something that I try and remind myself of all the time because I very often will bite off more than I can chew. So rather than saying you want to lose fat, build muscle, start running, and learn how to do your first pull-up like all at the same time, maybe you want to start by just focusing on fat loss, and once you've achieved that goal, then moving on to all these other things. When it comes to significantly increasing our likelihood of achieving our goals, I found focus to be one of the best tools in our toolkit to actually do that. And there's a lot of interesting science supporting that as well. So I try to only focus on 1 to 3 goals at a time in my entire life. So that's like health, fitness, relationships, financial, everything. That way I actually have enough time and energy to devote to those goals that I can make real progress on them. Next is planning and scheduling. So I have found it so essential to do a little weekly planning session for both my workouts and my meal plan. plan. And at this point, I find it really important to separate my ideal self from my real self. Because if I make plans for my ideal self and then my real self has to deal with them, it can become an issue. And that's where I tend to really fall off track. For example, my ideal self will cook a home cooked meal every single day from scratch and wakes up every day at 6 a.m. to work out for an hour. But my real self will cook a few times a week, and then a few times a week also will need like a really convenient, super simple meal to make, like maybe frozen or like a packaged salad or just something so quick and easy. My real self snoozes her alarm a couple days a week, sleeps in, and needs to have some flexibility with her workout schedule. So I try to always think about how can I account for these obstacles when I'm making my weekly plan. For example, I could say if I oversleep this week and I can't get in a morning workout session, instead I'm gonna do an evening walk. And I can also just be realistic about the fact that I don't cook meals from scratch all day, every day for 7 days a week, and pick up a few really convenient, simple, easy meals like frozen, pre-packaged. Maybe they're not the world's healthiest, but they are a lot more aligned with my goals, also a lot cheaper than ordering pizza on DoorDash. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just be honest here. So every Sunday or Monday, I will sit down and set a timer for 20 or 30 minutes just to plan everything out for the week. And the timer actually really helps me to stay focused during that time and just get it done as quickly as possible, which is again, super helpful if you're busy. So I will block out when I want to work out and actually schedule it in. If I wasn't following a program at the time, which I did really love doing, especially when I was working full time, I will actually write out my workouts for the week and make a loose schedule. So I would say, okay, this is my upper body day and this is what I'm going to hit. And this is my lower body day and I'm going to do squats, leg press, etc. Write out all the exercises. Then I'll also look through like my cookbooks or my saved recipes or meal inspiration on like TikTok and Instagram and decide what meals I want to have for the week. And then from there, I can create my grocery list and make sure I have everything I need. My next tip is to get rid of the screw it mentality. I think the screw it mentality was one of the biggest mistakes that I made during my fat loss journey and one of the things that kept me from seeing results for so long. The screw it mentality is this kind of all or nothing approach to your goals, and it certainly applies to fat loss, but I've also found it applies to so many other areas of life. For example, if I would oversleep and miss my like weight training session that I had planned for that morning, I just wouldn't bother working out at all. But what accelerated my results like crazy was adopting the something is better than nothing mindset. So instead of skipping a workout altogether if I overslept, I would do like a 10-minute ab workout or a 15-minute mobility session or a 5 or 10-minute walk. Or if I ate a really high calorie meal at lunch, because my office used to serve pizza every Thursday and I would just go absolutely nuts. I love a pizza. Even now, even during fat loss, I love a slice of pizza, but I would just eat way more than I should have and more than was aligned with my fat loss goals. But instead of writing off the whole day after that, I would just get back on track and get back to my plan after dinner. I found this like, screw it, the whole day I'm just gonna go off plan. That was so detrimental to reaching my fat loss goals. So this idea of like every minute of the day, I can just snap my fingers and reset, not having to wait until Monday, not having to wait till tomorrow, not having to wait until whenever to start again. Oh my God, it is so transformative. These tiny little things really do add up and make an impact, especially when you're low on time. I feel like the all or nothing mentality just destroys your ability to make progress because very few of us have time to have perfect 60-minute gym sessions 5 days a week. Like that's just not happening. So my target became things that were more like move every day, even if that was literally only 5 minutes. And that allowed me to develop the habits and discipline and kind of start a streak, which was so fun and motivating for me. My goal was just to kind of stay consistent with these little things day to day. And I realized and learned over time that the real way to build habits and discipline is by being consistent, not by being perfect. My next tip is to make it easy. So what do I mean? I'm thinking of specifically designing your environment to be as supportive of your goals as possible. One of the biggest things when you have a busy schedule is convenience. And that's why it's so easy to get off track because often the convenient options are not the healthiest or the most supportive of fat loss goals specifically. Like we think about convenient, cheap, easy food. A lot of it is fast food, highly processed, high in calorie. Some things I love to do when I'm trying to lose fat are just to keep as many healthy food options in my house as possible and try not to even bring in those options that are going to tempt me and not be supportive of my goals. If there's something that I know I tend to overeat, I'm not going to buy piles and piles of it and keep it front and center in my pantry. I personally hate wasting the time and energy on trying not to eat those foods. I try to really just lock in when I go to the grocery store. That way I pick up as many foods that are like nutritious, high in fiber, high in protein, whole foods, things that are really supportive of my goals, have those in the house all week. Some other ways that I like to do this, put my workout clothes out the night before just to make things as fast and quick and easy in the morning as possible, reduce that friction. I like to keep my home workout gear out in my living room. It looks ugly, but it is super convenient. Remove that extra step of having to go into a closet, dig everything out, lay it out, make things as accessible and easy as possible. When you're low on time, I feel like this becomes even more important than normal to do everything you can to set yourself up for success and make it easy to stick to your goals. Tracking progress is so huge, and it is something that takes a tiny bit of time investment, but it is so worth it in my opinion. For me, a huge part of being able to stay disciplined and stick to my plan was knowing and seeing that I was making progress and moving in the right direction. So personally, I used progress photos once a week, measurements once a week, and I would weigh myself daily just because I find with weight, there's so much daily fluctuation, and water weight and sodium, all these different things can impact it. So I like to have more data on that point specifically. If that sounds annoying to you, maybe just pick one or two things. If I can recommend one, progress photos are so helpful and important. Just to be honest, I felt so horrible taking my first set of progress photos. It was really unbelievable to me how much weight I had gained in such a short period of time and how I didn't notice or realize it. And it was very confronting to take those photos. Honestly, I felt terrible, but I am so thankful that I took them and I kept them, because it is so hard to notice these day-to-day small changes. But when you do compare after several weeks, months, or even now it's been a year and a half since I started my fat loss journey, that is when you really can see progress, and it is so motivating and empowering. I find it so much easier to stick to your goals when you know that your hard work is paying off. It's really hard to stay disciplined with something if you don't feel like you're making progress. So I would say, if you can, give yourself the gift of being able to see your progress by taking photos, finding some system of measurement that's going to work for you. If it was easy for us to be disciplined and stay consistent every single day, working towards our goals, even when life is super chaotic, then we'd all be doing it, right? The thing is though, it's not easy. I think it's so important to remember whenever you're working towards a new goal that you will fail. You will not do it perfectly. There were so many times in my fitness journey that I snoozed my alarm and skipped my workout for days or weeks in a row, that I ordered a pizza when I had a healthy meal prep sitting in my fridge ready to go. I have fallen off the bandwagon more times than I can count. I can tell you specifically, in the first 6 months of my fat loss journey, I lost very little weight even though I felt like I was working so hard. I had to experiment with a lot of diets and approaches that just didn't end up working for me, but I kept trying. I kept getting back on the horse when I fell off. And here's the funny thing, the more I pushed myself, the easier the whole thing became. Even though what I was doing, my plan I was following, got progressively harder, it felt easier. And I've realized since the reason for that was that I was getting better. Without even realizing it, I was slowly developing these habits and this discipline that bled into all these other areas of my life. The more hard things I got myself to do with my health and physique goals, the more willpower I felt like I had in reserve, the more gas I had in the tank. So just know the beginning can be so hard. Trust me, I have been there, but if you keep getting back on it every time you fall off, these tiny things that you do every day will add up, and I promise you it will pay off. It just gets so much easier and more manageable over time. I want to leave you with my last 2 tips to get a little motivation boost if you need one. The first thing, I love music. I feel like music can just change my mood like that. I have sacred workout playlists of what is objectively annoying, aggressive electronic music, but it just seriously makes me so happy and lifts my mood and gets me in the mood to train. So I have those playlists reserved for when I need them, when I need a boost. My next one is watching people do the thing that you want to do. So whether it's like I need to clean my house, I'll watch a cleaning vlog. I need to work out, I'll watch a workout vlog. Someone running errands when I need to run errands. It sounds really silly, but I feel like it kind of romanticizes the process and just gets me in the mood to do whatever that thing is. That's part of the reason why I love sharing videos like that on my channel, because I find them so helpful, and I hope maybe some of you out there watching do as well. If you just need to get in the mood, watch a workout vlog of someone having a great session with some fun music in the background. It gets me in the mood. If you love this video, you'll probably enjoy the first video in the Glow Up Guide series, which is all about building healthy habits. I will link it right up here in case you want to check it out. If you'd like to see more from me, make sure to subscribe. I upload new videos every week, and I will see you next time.